All right, looks like we have a quorum of members tonight, and my name is DesRoches. I'm the chair of the Burlington board, and I will call this August 5th, 2025 DRP order. We have an agenda in front of us. We will proceed with our items in the order they're listed on the agenda, and we have first item on our agenda is ZP 25-310, 633 Main Street, University of Vermont. Proposed conversion of existing fenced area into outdoor lab with associated site improvements. The applicant. This has been placed on our consent agenda item for any member of the board that has an issue with treating this as a consent agenda. Anybody in the audience or on Zoom here to speak on this application? Nothing. Once, twice, thrice. Do you have any concerns with staff report? I'll move that on ZP 25-310. We approve the application and adopt staff's findings and recommendations. Okay, 1 second. All those in favor? Having good fun. All right. Good luck.
Appreciate it.
The next item on our agenda is public hearing item number 1, CP 25 291 110 Summit Street, Charles Smith and Amy Mellencamp, proposed variance to construct 672 square foot addition that would result in exceedance of maximum principal building structure allowance. So are the applicants here for that? Come on up. When you and anyone else who wants to speak on this application, raise your hand. You swear the testimony you're about to give in this matter under consideration is true and correct under means and penalties of perjury.
Yes.
All right. Now, before I ask you questions, Garrett.
Yes.
Yours, right?
Yes.
This is not an appeal of a decision. This is an independent request for a variance. Is that right?
Correct.
All right. Normally, if it's an appeal, we ask the city to explain this position, but so, but even then, since this is somewhat of a new provision that we're applying, Garrett, can you just give us the background for the maximum principal structure footprint and where it comes from and how it applies to this request?
Yes.
I don't think we've applied it very much. I think it's relatively new.
So I don't believe that we've had a DRB item with this before, but this came in under neighborhood code when they expand to allow for secondary structures in our residential zoning districts. And so our zoning table got updated to basically, instead of units per acre, we now have setbacks, building size requirements to constrain units. So maximum principal structural footprint in the RL zoning district is limited to 1,800 square feet. Currently, out under 1,800 square feet with this proposed addition, it'd be over the 1,800. So they're requesting a variance for relief from that footprint maximum limitation.
And that's separate from lot coverage. That's its own independent building provision.
Correct.
And so I know that the neighborhood code also created a 600 square foot lot coverage bonus for additional dwelling units to be created. Has that been removed? Is that not relevant? Do you know what I'm talking about?
So we used to have that for ADUs. ADUs have since been removed. So I don't believe that
That one is
this anymore.
I'm assuming, so as an AD, you can't have an ADU anymore, you can only have a duplex, is that right?
We removed our definition for an ADU as ADUs, whether attached or detached. Now with a secondary structure, you could have a detached secondary structure. It would fall under its own category. So while effectively do the exact same thing as what an ADU would be, we no longer have that classification.
Okay, but there's no bonus for that applicable here.
Correct.
We're not, are we in a lot coverage problem?
No.
So theoretically,
Sorry, can I ask one question? So the exception, there is the exception under 2D, but that's only if a building already exceeds the footprint size. So like an 1,801 square foot building would be able to get bonus footprint. But
Correct.
because this is compliant, it does not.
Correct. If you were already exceeding the maximum footprint, you're allowed to increase. But if you're under, there's no provision to go over as a limit.
Garrett, this is Miles. Do we know? Do you know how we came up with the 1,800 square feet? Like, was that from a study of the average size in Burlington, or do you know how we came up with the number?
I do not know how that number has come up with. That was from Planning Commission. So I wasn't involved with that.
I did participate in a lot of those meetings, and that was effectively what it was. They were looking at what the average square footage of buildings in Burlington existing were
Yeah.
to come up with that number.
I think we do recognize that some streets, like Summit Street, have typically larger buildings. So I think that should keep that in mind.
Is there a secondary structure on the property?
There is a detached garage on the back of the property.
how big is the detached garage?
538 square feet.
All right, well, we've monopolized some of the time. Why don't you share, why don't you share with us, what you're at, what you're looking for and your position on it?
Well, thank you. My husband Charlie Smith and I are here to request actually 192 square feet more for our proposed project. And the project is really to build a sufficiently sized addition or ADU in order to accommodate accessibility standards and for us to age in place. 3 years ago, we had a wake-up call when I had a serious leg injury and was confined to our first floor that has no first floor living. So slept on a couch for a month, then washed my hair in the kitchen sink, that kind of thing. And so that caused us to start thinking about our future years now that we're in our 70s and wondering how we want to really age in place. And we very much want to stay in our neighborhood and want to stay in our house. And so thought about for the first floor living option. And so as we went down that plan, we realized in order to have sufficient space for a bedroom that could potentially have 2 wheelchairs that needs to be accommodated and other medical equipment, as well as a fully accessible bathroom and kitchenette with a sitting area, that we really needed about 672 square feet. That's what was the design that was given to us. It really fit all the codes and all of that. And importantly, we wanted the addition to be attached to our house so that people could, family members could take care of us, could readily get to us. We could readily get to them, especially in the winter and in inclement weather. All of our utilities are located actually right at that space. So it was really sort of an easy and economical way to accommodate our plans. But as we went through the zoning permit, we ran up against this 1,800 square foot maximum principal structure. And as was noted, our street, we may be one of the smaller houses actually on the street. That a lot of the houses are fully, bigger than that. But so, we really want to try to stay in place. So we went down the road of trying to see what we could do with the 480 square feet that we could build and meet that 1,800 square foot regulation. And we got a zoning permit, we actually got a building permit, so we were able to comply with all of that. But then our contractor came back to us and said, you've got to be crazy to do this. He said, you're not going to be able to successfully meet your accessibility desires. That the bedroom would be way too small. You'd be lucky to maybe get one wheelchair, that kind of thing. And he recommended us to not go ahead with the plans. And so that put us back a bit, thinking that if our contractor doesn't believe in the project, what should we do? And so we decided to revisit the full 672 feet addition that we'd originally thought about and had the design for. And that's why we're here tonight. We really would like just 192 square feet more, and in order to accomplish our desires. Now, we do know that we could build on to our garage potentially. As mentioned, that's 538 feet. So you can only have 1,100 square feet total. So that would put us in a 500 some odd range size addition that we could do. But there are a few problems about our location. We share a driveway, and the garage is at the back of that driveway. It's 45 feet from our house. So, 45 feet, especially in the winter, that's a long way to have to be able to work, especially if we get our utilities and action from our house. So that accessibility issue, it really came up. The other thing is that it would put it right in the middle of our backyard. And, our street we're fortunate to live where we do, but they're big backyards. It would really not be in the character of our neighborhood to take up the whole backyard with this sort of big addition. This really would be neighborhood friendly. And as I mentioned, we couldn't even get the 672 square feet. If we added on, we could only get 500 some odd square feet. So that really made us really want to talk to you about being able to add on to our house. We have a patio currently right now. This would replace the patio. It would be tucked up against the back of our house. Neighbors wouldn't see it any more than they see our patio. And that's already shielded from by greenery. It allows us to stay in the character of the neighborhood, I think, in a much better way. And really the attached addition accommodates best our desire to have easy access, convenient access for caregivers and all that in the future. I did want to reference, and I'm not sure how this could apply, but there is a provision for housing for older persons and individuals with disabilities in your ordinance. And it states that bonuses can be given for that. And so perhaps it could be considered as a bonus to have 192 square feet to be able to accomplish an accessible unit for older people, such as ourselves. I hate to think of us as being older people, but we're in that category at this point. So in summary, what we're really looking for is to have a first story addition, back of our house, to accommodate first for a living, to be able to age in place, to continue to be part of our neighborhood. And I think it's the least impactful way to do it and keep our backyard and really retain the beauty of what we consider to be our home. I don't know if you want to add anything.
No, just by way of summary, I mean, same points really, but this is far and away the 672 square foot addition is far and away the most logical minimum add to the house to accomplish what we're trying to do. The smaller footprint just is not a worthwhile solution. As Amy said, before actually a couple of years ago, we did get on the path of designing, really looking at how to work an ADU into the property, and it would have we would have taken down the garage, but with one thing and another, the only solution with that was to plunk it in the middle of the backyard to accommodate the various setbacks. It was a terrible solution, just from a planning standpoint, so we abandoned that. But, anyway, the 672 square feet, really, if we're gonna add to the house to make it better for our future use, the 672 square feet is really the minimum logical solution.
I've got a question. Can you clarify? Is this addition for a second unit or is it an addition to the existing single family home?
It would be, we would be able to live in it. It would be able to be occupied on a standalone basis. So it could be, if we're living near, the rest of the house
Like our daughter,
could be
family
available
moved in,
to other.
they could live there and be like a mother-in-law unit or something.
Yeah, but it would have a kitchenette, it would have a bathroom, the plumbing would be connected to the main house, it would take advantage of the positioning utilities and so forth. But it would be functionally, you can close the door and live there pretty fully comfortably with one bed.
Garrett, does when I look at that site plan, there's the addition, there's also this porch in the house, the addition, is that counting towards the principal structure square footage or not?
No, I believe when we had talked in the past, that was an exterior porch and that was not counted in the floor as the footprint for the structure.
Footprint doesn't count, and that 1,800 square feet doesn't count things that lot coverage, that's a total associated.
Correct,
porch
those
and patio
are
as well.
correct.
Right, and that would accrue to the lot coverage.
Can
But not to the
Yeah.
principal footprint.
So did you say you've got a permit for an addition that was smaller than this?
Yes,
When'd you get that?
like, a month or two ago. 2 months ago, and and when we got it, and we showed it to our contractor, he said, no, wait a minute. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
what was your contractor's reasoning?
Well, Amy cites the contractor, I'd be inclined to say, we all looked at it and said it just wasn't gonna accommodate what we need. You cramp the bedroom down to a size where you've got about a foot of space around the double bed. It doesn't really make any sense. The bathroom, you couldn't turn a wheelchair around in the bathroom. Essentially what it is about, we're talking about 8 feet. The difference is 8 feet by 24. So that additional 8 feet extension out into the yard is all of the latitude to turn a wheelchair, within the various enclosed rooms and things within the addition. So it was really the contractor who called it out, but I think we were all on our own way looking at it, saying this really doesn't make any sense. But he pointed out it in terms of just the accessibility standards, if you're going to accommodate a wheelchair bathroom type thing.
So, I'm struggling with a provision of the code, Gary, maybe you can help me. No, okay, so. Subsection D, single family homes legally existing as of 1/1/24 in excess of the building footprint limits may be expanded 125%. All right, so that's what Evan covered. They're already in existence, they can go. Am I reading that they can
Yeah,
add?
only if they're exceeding the 1,800. So basically,
So it's our next door neighbor.
So if this was 1,801 feet currently, they could add a quarter of 1,800 to this to go up to 2,400 or
2267, I think, is what I did. I was looking at what it would be. So about 400-ish.
Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes.
But because they're below 1,800, they are stuck to 1,800.
Correct.
It's a little weird, no?
Garrett, did you look at the provision that was referenced with respect to a potential bonus? Didn't see that in staff, right? That section.
The bonus regarding housing for older persons, individuals, with disabilities, it relates to lot coverage, height, maximum development intensity as a floor area ratio. It doesn't directly reference
Was that because it was?
per unit, so
What section is that in?
Is that the 4.4.5 section?
5A. yeah.
Okay.
It's also exclusively housing, exclusive housing as defined by the Federal Fair Housing Act, so there are definitions and intended for indirect use by this group.
It had mentioned also then that if we allowed this, then that would end up applying as a duplex. Would they be able to do that
Correct.
separately anyway?
Correct, they could put a unit in and change it to a duplex. And that would be,
That would get them over the,
it wouldn't give them any more floor, or it wouldn't give them any more footprint, but they could add.
Is there something called an attached duplex, or does a duplex have to be completely detached from the principal structure?
A duplex would be attached all in one structure.
That still has the principal structure problem, right?
Correct, they could go even up to 4 units in one structure, but it's still limited by that footprint.
And again, detached, there's no question they need it, right?
Correct, there's potential for a detached structure.
Secondary structure.
Yes.
Yeah, should be 11 square. All right. Anybody in the audience here to speak on this application? Anybody on Zoom here to speak on this application?
Sharon Busher has her hand raised.
Okay. Sharon, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I live in a different ward. I live in Ward 1, but I am a person who follows the code and then follows your trying to interpret the codes that are put forward. And my comments are my own, obviously, but I feel that the neighborhood code was such a significant zoning rewrite, and it was rushed, in my opinion. And so I think that as applications come forward before the DRB, you will find things that were not completely thought out. You are asking the questions that were the questions that were asked when when the city supported ADUs. And the purpose of ADUs was to allow people to age in place and to create affordability. And the mother-in-law apartment or whatever. So what is being asked by these applicants is consistent with what we embraced and supported for our community, but was lost when we got into a housing frenzy. I'm not denying the need for housing, but I am frustrated with the speed at which it proceeded. And I'm not surprised, as I said, that sometimes things come forward and you kind of go, as Evan's saying, you know, if it was 1801, you could make it much bigger, but if you're under 1800, you're penalized in a sort of way. So I think the intent, even though these structures aren't linked to lot coverage, the size of the structures were discussed in regards to what zone you were in, whether you were an RL or RM. You see that, I mean, I worked really hard to get the second structure to be the same size in both RL and RM, and they are. So what I'm hoping that the board will decide is to support this request for a variance. First of all, I feel that not enough attention is paid to the senior population in this community. And here we have someone being proactive and doing sort of what, not sort of, but actually acting upon the old philosophy of the ADU, age in place. And now find themselves not being able to anticipate needs for wheelchairs or accessibility needs. And so if the ratio of 1,800 as the max for the primary structure and 1,100 as the max for the secondary structure is really relevant and important, then I'm hoping that people will think about this, and there may be an opportunity where if you add on to, well, I'd like to see the primary structure size be rethought. But if indeed you add on to that primary structure, maybe the secondary structure needs to be smaller than 1,100 square feet. I live in a city where I love Burlington, and I want common sense, and I want requests that come forward that make sense to be able to be supported in some way without being, I understand the concern of establishing a precedent. I take that seriously, but I'm hoping you will consider requesting this variance for the reason I stated regarding age in place and affordability. And the other thing is, I also hope that the DRB will serve as that body that gives feedback to planning to say, look, we're getting requests like this on this topic. Can we rethink this? Maybe there will be no action, but maybe there will be some change in the ordinance to accommodate what is reasonable development that allows consistency, continuity, and stability in our city. So thank you.
Yeah, by all means.
Garrett and Mary, we granted a variance under an ADA compliance issue in Ward 1 recently on Prospect Street. Can you just remind me of the rationale we used in that case for why variance was?
Was this the mobile unit? Was that the request there was a variance for setbacks?
Okay.
Because the unit was being placed within a setback. There was testimony about family owning this parcel and the abutting parcel.
Yeah.
There was agreement and a willingness to allow this, and the variance was issued with a timeline that the unit would be removed within a certain period of time.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Right, with that, we'll close the application. We'll deliberate on this when we finish our public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
The next item on our agenda is ZP 25-317-208 Flynn Avenue. Request for proposed conditional use conversion of 7,000 square feet of commercial office space in Parkway Health Club. The applicant here. Anybody else who wants to be heard on this application, please raise your right hand along with the applicants.
Will Kelley be participating? Do you know? I see she's online.
I think she'll be listening. She may.
I'll give her, excuse me, I'm giving her allowance to speak if she wishes.
Yeah, good. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is true and correct under the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes.
All right.
I do.
Introduce yourselves, and we have the staff report. We have floor plans. Walk us through what you'd like to do.
Sure, my name is Dave Nelson. I'm the founder of Sabu. We operate 3 locations around Vermont currently, where we offer private sauna rentals. And the change proposed use at 208 Flynn Ave is to open a larger scale Nordic style bathhouse that will include saunas, steam rooms, some social relaxation spaces, along with the kind of necessary facilities, changing rooms, showers, and a little bit of retail space as well.
Good. I'll let the board, does anybody from the board have any particular questions on this application?
We could maybe just see the floor plans and.
Yeah, let's orient us through the floor plan, if you don't mind. I'm a little, want to understand where it is in the building, the access for it, how it interrelates with the other uses down in that area.
Sure.
What the traffic generation is gonna be across Flynn.
Yep.
But I know it's near the crossing and the Parkway intersection, so just walk us through that if you don't.
Sure. So this site plan, north is actually to the right, so,
You
Flynn
have
Ave
the
is-
pointer right in front of you, that's helpful. Yeah. There you go.
You see
Good
it?
show.
Yeah, there we go. Oh, I
Yeah.
kind of see it. Okay, so Flynn Ave's here. Kind of see there. The Howard, if you're familiar with the building, the Howard Center awning is right there. So folks will enter in through the vestibule here, and then this is our proposed space. This is the old conference center space. If you're familiar with the building, Nomad Coffee is right here in sort of this open area. Then there's a hallway that goes out and opens up right onto Flynn Ave there. So what we are proposing is a maximum operational occupancy of 45 people. And that traffic, the majority of that traffic will be on weekends and evening times. And so I guess that's a key point. And so it's kind of counter to the office use that is, the majority of tenants in that space and the folks that are using that parking lot. And typically we see folks coming in groups of 2 and 3, so we expect to see about 25 to 30 parking spots in that space used, which, if I remember correctly, is a little less than half of what Howard Center was using.
And we're talking about, right, you're coming in and out of the driveway
Yeah, sort of.
east of.
Yeah, it would be like, if you can see the pointer down there, it's there's an entrance right here that's actually right next to the stoplight.
Yeah, okay. Not the one that's closer to the.
Oh, yeah, where it's before City Market. Can you see it?
Yeah, I
The
understand.
pointer is not really. Where are we here? Intersection is here, yeah, so the entrance is like right there. This currently, the other entrance down there is actually designated as a one.
Yeah.
So the current. Mission of the park.
Trip generation. Spoken to Public Works about it, any concerns by Public Works at the intersection?
I don't believe we have spoken, yet, but we will.
The new impact fees will be exercised with this change of use. The early calculation is because trip ends will be substantially different from the existing office use. There will be a net new impact fee, and transportation impact fee is based on trip ends. I don't have that final number yet. The only thing I can do is add a condition that impact fees will be generated.
What was in the space before?
This was Howard Center administrative offices. There were, we know the total number of offices that were in the building.
I do not, the proposal is about half of the Howard Center space that was there before. Taking about half of it, sort of that jagged line that they talked about cuts through it.
I believe that they had somewhere between 50 and 60 employees and
What's your maximum occupancy?
40.
That's the total including employees.
3 additional employees, so 48.
Dave would probably be able to give Dave or Paige the numbers.
Howard Center had like 60 to 70 employees, but they bring in training. It was like their onboarding classrooms, training facility over on the right-hand side, yeah, big conference room, so this space.
I would say we have like probably 20 to 30 additional people
For training
in
teams.
most training days in the two. You can't really see where it used to be divided, but that whole kind of separate piece of that floor plan. On the
You're talking about this space
north
right here?
side of the building, there was probably 20 to 30 additional people in in those spaces, probably 3 or 4 times a week as well.
Any further questions from the board? Any questions from the audience, comments, concerns?
No one online.
So with that, I'll close the public hearing. The next item on our agenda is ZP 25-5276 Ethan Allen Parkway. Yeah, appeal of zoning administrator's denial for ZP 24-533. And Peter, you're up. Great. Thank you. Evening. Real quick, please swear everyone in. Raise your right hand. And anyone online who wants to be heard as your client?
Yeah, Joseph Fernandez should be on this.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is true and correct and the pains and penalties and perjury for this matter under consideration? You online?
I have Joseph, who is the other person?
Ann Lander.
Maybe they'd be together.
Yeah, they would be.
Okay.
So I think by way of background, quickly, if you wouldn't mind just bringing us up to speed, but this is an appeal. So typically we ask the city to present first. So I should let them do that. Garrett, I think that means you're up.
Yes. So you might recall at the very beginning of the year, our first DRB meeting, we had several tree clearing permits. This was one of them. This was after the fact. Tree clearing, the board will made the motion to request this application to return 30 days. Within 30 days, this application returned with a request for extension to come back. At that point, an extension was granted without a date certain. 6 months went by, and per Article 3, if no action is made or request is made, the application times out and is denied. So that's what happened in this case. And now there's an appeal of that denial as well as the extension request.
Okay, I got it. And Peter, can I boil your down if I understand this? 6 months runs from January 7th, not from when you requested the deferral.
I think that's right. And then the other piece is, the interpretation of what the request was from the board at January 7th was, the 3.2.5 pertains to once the application is complete. So I guess, was that a request for additional application materials? And so that's that 6 months apply.
Got it.
If I may, and Garrett's summary was accurate. I think there was maybe one additional request in April, but without a date certain. Ultimately, substantively, the permit was denied. Soon thereafter, the planting plan that was requested was submitted. That's it's a 39 arborvitae trees. It's comprehensive. It's in your packet. So the request is really, from a substantive perspective, just to have the DRB review it. It being an attorney permit denial, so I was nervous. And so the appeal was filed, but ultimately the goal of the request is really just to have the DRB consider that the planting plan now that it's before you, and I think it, addresses the DRB's concerns.
Remind me, I think I just looked at this, Greg Davis, this is a weird property that's like 2 owners for 1 property kind of thing.
It's one owner, it's just a weird, like, configuration, yeah.
Mr. Davis is the one that sort of the other portion ownership issue, and he's okay with this.
Right, there was a PUD and that piece I'm gonna get confused on if I try to go down into the details off the top of my head, but yes, Mr. Davis is one of the neighbors, that was one of the property lines. And I give you the direction, where there were trees cleared. He has now submitted a letter, we've be seeing this plan, that's what this letter indicates, he says he's okay with it. He did mention that, requesting kind of a timeline which we can talk about, but substantively, it seems like he's okay.
Garrett, if we were to uphold a denial, what would be the actual byproduct of that? Because we did reopen to ask for a planting. And I guess we have a planting plan now. We were to uphold your denial, what's the result?
Effectively, the applicant has to reapply, be rescheduled for DRB and return in front of you with all materials. So basically it just extends the timeline.
So we may just end up here.
One difference is, because this was after the fact, and this came in initially after a zoning complaint was filed, a issuance of a zoning violation has been given. So if they were to reapply, they would be reapplying to come into compliance with that zoning violation.
Presumably granting this, though, if we did, would also resolve the zoning violation.
Correct.
Jeff, you usually have insightful questions.
I think I'm pretty set on this one.
Okay, all right. Anybody else have any questions for the DRB? Peter, anything else you want to add? Fair?
No, other than, we appreciate your time and substantively, I think you understand our goal here, so, I'm accepting.
Your clients want to add anything? Dangerous question, right?
It is, and Joseph and Ann, feel free to speak up, but I think I've covered the substance, so.
I have no hands up.
Okay. All right, well, I guess with that, we'll close this DRB hearing.
Thank you for your time.
Oh, sorry, is there anyone else? She said no hands up. Is there anyone else online besides Josephine? She said no hands, so. All right, close the DRB hearing. I didn't apologize for that. All right, well, that's the end of our. Do we have the annual organizational meetings now? Yeah.
Recording stopped.
Thank you.